dear Vidhu ma'am, we students and teachers of English literature, we are greatly interested in. So over to you, Anand sir. I'm extremely happy. Welcome all of you once again.
Thank you, Dr. Kalyani. Welcome, Vidhu. This is more of an informal chat. As Kalyani has said, we have students, participants from all over India. We are mostly language students. Okay, so participants, we have today amongst us Vidhu Vincent. She's one of the leading filmmakers in Malayalam. She has been a theatre activist and a media person. So we will be talking about that in detail later in the show. But then let's start with Vidhu's first debut film, Manhole. The film is about people who are cleaning the sewages, manually doing that. And this won Vidhu the Best Director Award from the Kerala State. And that she is the first woman filmmaker to win that award in the history of Kerala State films. Vidhu, it's our rare fortune that we have you for an interaction here. So how did you reach into this theme of Manhole?
First of all, thank you, Harida. Thank you, Anand, and thank you, Ms. Kalyani and this group for giving me the opportunity to interact with your students. And I think, Anand, is it the same batch that have seen Viral Sebi or the next batch?
Yes, I've seen the film.
All of us have not seen. Some of us have, because there are also public people here in this session.
Oh, okay. Because, before releasing the Viral CB, actually, I got some wonderful, amazing reviews of the film from your students. So, thank you for that. Okay. So, as Anand knows, it was quite accidental that I landed to Manhole. Basically, I was a journalist, a visual media journalist, a television correspondent for the last 17 years. And actually, it was part of an assignment. Actually, I was supposed to make a documentary on a particular theme, and I selected the scavenging community who lives nearby my house at Kollam. So I just went to them and studied the problem and worked with them, and I came to know what had been in their lives and what are the struggles and pains they underwent. And then I did the documentary Vrithiude Jadi or Cast of Cleanliness, the English title. Actually, it got several awards and acclamations from the critical documentary community. And then I thought actually that documentary should come into a bigger canvas. That was the point when I decided to make a feature film based on the manual scavenging community in Kerala. And it was like that.
Okay, so you mentioned about the documentary that happened first. But I remember that you are one of the first generation news reporters in Malayalam television. You started the first batch of Asianet, I think. So far as I can remember, you have been taking very clear political positions personally, with aligning yourself with people from the fringes who are out of the mainstream view. So when you thought of the documentary, and when you came out with the documentary first, that led to an amazing film called Manhole, which won several awards within the state and outside. What was the response that documentary created? So I am asking this question particularly because students here will be interested in knowing the transition from a documentary to a feature film.
Yeah, I got. Okay. Actually, regarding Manhole, I should say that, apart from our teamwork or, our kind of that, all of that sorts. Manhole was having a compelling storyline, a kind of unique storyline, and the subject itself was very novel. And it was for the first time that Malayalis or Keralites accepted or recognized the issue of manual scavengers. Yeah, they are still here and they are still doing the same job. And I would say that that was 100% genuine work from our part. I mean, we were actually making a film more than with craft or anything other kind of things. It's our sincere effort to tell something truth which was hidden all through the years. So I think that made the film genuine, and that genuinity got accepted. That's what I feel. And regarding the documentary, and as all of you know, especially when you're working with a channel or an institution, making a documentary is not at all an issue, because we will get the support from the institution, so the money things and all kind of that budget parts will be taken care of, and we will be most probably we'll be getting the enough time. And I decided to do that documentary for Media One, in order to highlight the plight of manual scavengers in Kerala. So the documentary was truly inspired by the true incidents, and that film is based on, as all of you know, the lives of manual scavengers who lived nearby my town. And but unfortunately, from documentary to a feature film making is completely a painful journey for me, because first of all, the finding the investment for feature film itself was a tremendous effort. I asked so many friends that time, and everybody said they will give money for the second film. And at last, my father, who was a teacher, a pensioner, he gave me 10 lakhs and we started from the scratch. And actually, that made the thing like, the film actually gave me so many lessons, like, if we have limitations, then we will start how to overcome the limitations. So that was the first thing I learned from the film Manhole. And I should thank the documentary for taking me or giving me lessons like that. Actually, we made the film, and the film made us later. That I would say.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. The film, you made the film, and then the film made you. That's good. But then the documentary is, as you have rightly said, it's hard-hitting fact. And when you are translating that into a feature film, you need to weave a story around it, a narrative around it. Or did you stick to the original truth, the hard truth alone? Or how did you create the characters around it?
When we started working on Manhole feature film, the first thing I decided that that should be not his film, her film. But all of us know that, manual scavengers, the scavenging community, those people, most of them we are seeing, those people are men, and who are working with manholes, or working in the toilets, washing, cleaning toilets of schools and offices or colleges. So I was actually thinking of how a woman character can be portrayed, and how can a woman perspective can be built off from that story. So I made the character of Shalini, who was a a daughter of a manual scavenger, and we have started watching or narrating the story through her eyes.
So that Shalini character was created to bring in that gender equity.
Yeah, true. Because, I mean, especially a girl coming from that community, how she sees her life, what kind of pains or struggles she is undergoing, uh, uh, and what is the life or what is the future she is leading into. That's what I want to, or we want to tell to the world. So Manhole was, in a sense, actually, whenever or wherever, I mean, whenever I think of a movie or, a story, I usually want to tell the story through her eyes, because, most of other stories are already told, and that is told through his eyes. So my concern was always, or is always, how can we actually narrate the same story through her eyes? So definitely, then the whole perspective will be different. The whole world will change according or through her eyes. So how she sees this world, how she sees these incidents, how she sees the her father's job, her lover's job. So I was actually trying to portray uh, that world.
Okay. That brings us to your second film, which is also again the world seen through her eyes. This is stand up is about the film is named Stand Up for those who don't know. Vidhu's second film is called the Stand Up. This is about a female stand up comedian and her struggles to find a space in a rather male dominated area or an art form. Again, this is Vidhu is approaching the story from her eyes, isn't it?
Yeah, true.
How did you reach to that story?
Anand, you know that, I mean, we don't have many women or female comedians. Most of them are male artists. So I thought of narrating this story through the eyes of a stand-up comedian, that too a woman. And so I was actually imagining how it would be a woman uh, if she started narrating the story of a raped girl, and she becomes a rape survivor. And this girl finally appears before the audience at the end of the stand-up session. And I started to think the story in that way, and how she sees this rape survivor's life and the struggles of her own life and other women's life, how she mixing those things, and how she can take the examples of this rape girl's life to the audience. Uh, and the story actually started, or the idea started like this.
Yeah. So I know this. The film is in itself is very beautifully visualized.
I just want to know, anybody of, the students who hear us have watched the movie Stand Up. Actually, it was widely released, and in Asianet movies, I think, it is screened several times.
Yeah. Has anyone watched the film?
Ma'am, your audience comprises people from all over India. Malayalis are few here,
Okay.
but there may be people who have watched also.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Vidhu, my question is like this: the character in the protagonist in Stand Up, she is using a medium which is not conducive
Familiar.
or familiar for her gender to raise a very serious issue of that of a rape survivor. So, does that go parallel with your struggles as a filmmaker, where this is your second film, and at that time you have already been won the award for you have already become the first woman to win a Best Director award, but still you might have found it very difficult to enter or think of a theme like this. So, does that character, the protagonist, have any parallel with your own struggle as a filmmaker, as a woman filmmaker?
Actually, that film's script writing session was very challenging one because two things are happening in a parallel way. In one screen, actually, this girl is narrating the story, and simultaneously we see the scenes of the other girl's story in the next frame. So it is like it was not like in a linear way. uh, and actually I thought actually while doing the story it can be make a kind of a difficulty in watching the film, but later when it got screened, when it got released, actually the audience, uh, they were actually or I would say that the stand up got huge response from the audience side, and most of the responses I got from women folk, they see themselves in the rape girl. Okay, it was like that. And some students, some female friends, and some girls mothers, they called me and said it was the daughter's story, it was her friend's story, like that. So I felt it like uh, uh, if at all it's a challenge for me to make or to narrate a story like that, but that was uh, uh, that was conceived by the, or that was very convincingly accepted by the audience. So uh, so there is no need of telling a linear story always. So every time I used to think like why do you want to say things like, this is the first thing happened, this is the second thing happened? I mean, you don't need to approach the stories like that. You can actually start telling stories from wherever you feel like. I would say uh, in storytelling manner, or selecting the storytelling thing or format is very challenging or very crucial for a director or a scriptwriter, the selecting that format.
Yeah, that's true. Because I know it because when the your third film, Viral Sebi, we selected because I wrote that script along with Sajida Madapil. Three of us we decided that this pattern is going to be linear because this is about a journey. This is about a journey that Sebi makes from one point to another, which changes his life. So I can understand when you say that the director can have to choose the director has to choose the pattern of storytelling. We made a very deliberate decision to keep our viral city linear because that's how the journey progresses. Can we talk about like some of us, as I've told you, some of us have watched the film because Vallath was fortunate to have a screening even before the film was released, a private screening at Vallath. So some of the students have watched the film, but then this is now available in the OTT platform. We can speak about Viral Sebi now. That I think we need to speak in a bit elaborately, especially in the given context.
As you know, Anand, what are the things I'm going to tell? I mean, it's so familiar to you.
Yeah.
Uh, during the COVID.
Let's have a chat. Like to start with, one of the responses that we have been getting since the film has been released is that this is how women write men characters. The how a woman director, a woman writer, and definitely I am also part of the writing team. I wrote the film. How they have written male characters. So my learning lesson for me in that is that we can be sensitive to the issues of the other gender when we are talking about when we are narrating a story. So this can be all the characters because Viral Sebi is about a cab driver Sebastian taking a journey from Kozhikode in Kerala to Bangalore. He is carrying a passenger who is leaving India. She's a Palestinian woman. So her story, her struggles, transforms him. That's a basic story in one line. But then in between, there are a lot of people get into his car and get out of the car. So it's a journey that goes on like life. So whenever we wrote a character, whenever we created a character, we try to look into the different aspects, the human aspects, the gender issues, all the issues. So maybe that made those characters relatable. What do you think?
During the COVID times, I used to travel to Kochi and back Kozhikode. So, and I've got a driver. He was actually, I would say, he's really a nice storyteller, and he used to tell me a lot of stories. He used to narrate a lot of stories. So I didn't actually suffer much of boredom while traveling with him. If he's a driver, I was actually, I mean, yeah. And at this time, I am going to hear a new story. It was like that. So actually, I got inspired by his stories. Then I started telling these stories to Sajida, then later to Anand, and we uh, we decided to make a movie based on the life of a driver. So actually, my intention was to narrate a story based on the life of a driver, or I want to narrate the story through the eyes of a driver, how he sees the world, or how she sees the world, like that. So then Anand and Sajida actually they challenged me, like, why do you want to tell a story like that? So what is your intention? So we actually, I mean, puzzled with those kind of questions, and there were a lot of conflict actually.
Yeah, we fought it out.
Yeah,
we
definitely.
used to fight with each other.
And actually, I mean, I think you remember that, I mean, I wanted to say that, how our society actually sees the status of a driver, how we perceive a driver. It's like, I mean, they are like a secondary citizen, and uh, the people who travels, or the passengers who travels with the driver, uh, they, I mean, they behave with them in inhumane manner, and they treat them as a secondary citizen. I mean, I mean, so I actually thought of why Kerala, especially, a progressive, liberal, literate state in the country, is behaving like that. So actually, I started with that puzzle. Then Sajida and Anand actually came with the ideas of different passengers who are getting into the car, and they are having different lives. And why can't we actually think of physical and psychological uh, boundaries of lives of each passenger, and how do this driver actually get into their life, or how do he perceive their lives? It's like that. So then we decided to actually started thinking on the boundaries. So what is the definition of this physical and psychological boundaries in our lives? Then finally came the issue of Palestine, a migrant, or a Palestinian girl who studies in Calicut University, came as the traveler or passenger, and she wanted to travel to Bangalore, travel to Bangalore and to the airport, and he he's assigned to take that girl to Bangalore. The story goes like that. So I mean, the story writing actually started like this.
When lot many things came into our purview when we started writing this book, because as Vidhu said, that we have been fighting through the entire process. We will suggest a change, she will reject it, so we will justify it. So it is a interesting process. But the driver, yes, the starting, the one
One second.
Introduced us into the story.
One second. I mean, those who
sure.
have seen Viral Sebi, actually, this Viral Sebi, that film follows a taxi driver named Sebastian alias Sebi. whose lives actually changes by the end of his trip. That is from Calicut to Bangalore, after ferrying different passengers. And the transformation of his life is the message of the film.
Yeah. So what introduced me to this story that Vidhu discussed?
Like watching the movie.
Yeah. You have rightly said that the introduction, that the first thing that you told me when we started discussing working on this project as a secondary citizen. So I was reminded of that character in a famous series, online series called Sherlock, where one of the serial killers is a taxi cab driver. And the cab driver tells Sherlock that nobody watches, he's the face of the cabbie. So exactly, so that was a starting point where we worked on this film, and then how this man, if that face is turned towards the camera. So this cabbie, alias Sebi, he's a YouTuber also, but we have designed it in such a manner that he is doing the YouTube without showing his face. So finally, when he realizes the absurdity of borders, both physical and psychological borders, he's turning the camera to himself. So a cabbie gets a face in Viral Sebi. So that's what we wanted to communicate through this film. But then this film raises the main issue of people being defined by their borders. And that came very relevant, especially after the recent struggle at the Gaza Strip. So that gave a different dimension to how people draw the borders around themselves. Isn't it, Vidhu? So that borders is a key issue.
And actually, I got astonished because, the reviews or the responses I get from the people who watch the Viral Sebi, actually they got the idea. Actually, we were actually after the editing time, actually, we were actually a little bit worried. I mean, will the audience get this message, or will the audience get the idea what we want to convey? But no issues were there. So the people actually, the people who watched the movie, they started to speak the story of borders, or different boundary stories, border stories. They started to narrate. So it is like, it's really a wonder, actually. We definitely should have movies like this, I think.
So Vidhu, now coming back to your experience as a visual media journalist, did that shape you as a theatre activist and a filmmaker later on? Because the experience that you gathered as a first generation woman visual media journalist, did that shape your career as a theatre activist and later on as a filmmaker?
Yes, definitely. Actually, it helped me in different ways, especially especially as a film director. A background in visual media journalism actually provides me valuable lessons. Like, as you know, journalists often possess strong storytelling abilities. We always say nose for news or keen eye for visuals, and effective communication skills. And this communication skills part is very essential and important in a film set, in a location. So these skills can be applied to filmmaking also, enhancing the director's ability to convey the compelling narratives, I think. And what actually I gained from the media, as a media practitioner, if at all so many visuals are there, what I should get, what are the visuals I should get from those footages. So, actually, I learned picking the shots or how a short can be meaningful in different ways. So those lessons actually I learned from my media life actually. The the importance of visuals in conveying a message. How can a visual can be translated into a meaningful content? I think I learned, or I do filmmaking. I don't have any other, scientific learning of filmmaking. I never studied in any film schools like Pune Film Institute or Satyajit Institute. My school was CEDIT actually. That's the Center for Development of Imaging Technology. So actually, we learned documentary and these news setting lessons from there. And actually, I did Media Academy course also. But later, actually, my life or my work with journalism or as a media practitioner actually paved the way for film direction.
Okay. Kalyani, you have a question to ask here.
You just said that you have no formal training, not much in film making. We have lots of people who do designing or photography or filmmaking or things like that without formal training. So I have always had this question in my mind. Did you ever wish that you had formal training? Was it a drawback that you did not have formal training, or was it an advantage? Because you're not falling into the same age-old cliched practices because you're not formally trained. How do you make up for the lack of it?
Actually, though I didn't have the formal kind of education in filmmaking, but my CEDIT or my visual media practice made me learn, how shorts can be combined, how cinematography should be, and how editing should go. These kind of things. And actually, when we think of a film, film it's a conglomeration of all these arts. Painting or music or art, art direction kind of things, and visual effects, and all this actually unite in filmmaking. So actually, I always feel like at least you should have the taste of all these things. You should be able to sense it. You should be able to. Though you don't know. You may not be knowing how to sing, or you don't know, you may not be able to read an instrument, or play an instrument, music instrument, but you should be able to sense it. You should be able to judge it. That is the capability we have to acquire, I think. When your art director says, okay, we want to convey, or we want to command to the art director, okay, these are the things I want. So actually, you should be able to imagine those things in your in your brain. So it's a kind of painting, when you start thinking of your set or your location, the place where you want to make it happen, make your film happen. How it can be suited to your project. This will go with our budget. This will go with our aesthetics. So that sense is very important, I think. That sense actually, I would say I got it by watching the film. So I would say, this international film festivals, I was a student of that festivals actually. So IFFK is my university, I would say. So that was, we started from 1995, going continuously for the festivals, and it's like watching 5 films every day. So that 5 days or 6 days continuously watching that 6 into 5 films. So it is completely like learning lessons from watching those films, and thinking over that and discussing those films, the subject, the what are the things you have learned or gained, so it was like that.
More than formal education, it's exposure and experience and your own thinking and processing. Correct. Thank you.
And one more thing, actually, I want to add one more thing, and films, it is now Anand knows, it's like a teamwork, though director is the captain or, team leader, actually we are working in a team, and team is actually made up of different people, maybe 100 people, coming from different backgrounds with a different ego, different personalities, and you have to tackle those persons. Okay, so it's like,
Management.
yeah. It's like a team management. Yeah. It's like, you can actually, if somebody behaves wrongly, you cannot actually say suddenly, okay, just get out of the set. You can't say that, because he or she is having an important role in in the crew. So how to manage those people is a basic lesson, actually, we have to learn. That I got from the visual media experience.
I get it.
And-
Thank
Yeah, and also Vidhu, maybe the visual part you have explained very well, and how you can handle the team is also there. But then more than that, I think visual media journalism prepared you to be empathetic towards the cause of human beings. It prepared you for telling stories that are not told otherwise. To turn your camera, you have used it beautifully when you said it taught you where to look at and what to look at. So that sensibility is what journalism gives you, to look for stories that are not told, look for stories that need to be told, isn't it?
Yeah. Actually, where to position ourselves. That also the lesson I learned from my visual media experience. And actually, Anand, I would say that I started watching films. From 95, these kind of films, okay, these festival kind of movies, I started watching from 95 onwards. Till that time, I was completely kind of coming from an Orthodox Christian family, and, having a lot of uh, a different thought of world, different imagination about the world. But, after watching those movies, and after, doing things, after going for the reporting kind of things, then suddenly some kind of, inner eye opened, and, that, the world is not uh, what we see, something yet to be seen. How do we perceive the world? That should be different, and actually I started seeing the world in a different perspective, like, politically, socially, even in personal ways, actually.
From the beginning itself, like that choice is very evident. So you have been sensitive to issues that are not usually depicted in the films or in the narratives. Also, you spoke about the film festivals, and I know that you have been associated with other than being doing films, you are associating with organizing film festivals, and you have been doing talks on films. So, how from the experience that you have gathered over these years, organizing the film festivals, smaller film festivals. I'm not talking about larger film festivals like IFFK. Smaller festivals, society, your association with film societies. How stable is our
Film industry.
film industry?
That's a complex question, I think. This stability actually, connects with so many factors, so many variables are there. I think, it can be influenced by factors like box office, of course, success, and, the talent availability, and the market trends. So we can't say, at some point, it shows the stability, some kind of stability, and sometimes, especially I remember these issues like piracy, and, the competition came, uh, then the Malayalam industry actually, shaken in a way that, everybody fears that the industry actually would perish, or, some, okay. So
then it survived.
yeah, still it survived. So I think, it has shown this resilience, and continues actually to produce different acclaimed films. And I would say, actually, in a way, it is contributing to the rich cultural landscape of our state.
Yeah, true.
Isn't it?
So, yeah, we are playing a very significant role. Kalyani, I think you have a question here.
Yes. We had a very important transition in Malayalam film industry recently with an issue that everybody knows about in Kerala related to women. And there was a big collective of women that came into being. We're not going to talk about the issue as such here. I would like to know, I know that there are massive changes that have happened, at least massive changes have begun in the nature of the films, in the role of the women actresses. Can you please throw some light on that? Because you have been involved, you're an insider also. How is the Malayalam film industry accepting it? How is it changing? What is the role of change the role? What is the new role of women in Malayalam film industry? Is there hope?
Yeah, I think that's one pertinent question Kalyani has raised. You were initial members of the Women in Cinema Collective, the WCC, that raised or flagged the gender issue in Malayalam film industry in a big way. So big that it brought in some policy changes also, some formation of rules and everything. So I think the youngsters here will be interested in learning more about how WCC, the Women in Cinema Collective, happened and what was the stand that you took?
As you all know, Women in Cinema Collective aims to address gender disparities, promote inclusivity, and provide a platform for women in various roles within the film industry. We were continuously facing with so many misogynic activities inside the industry, and this Women in Cinema Collective comes as a voice to talk about those misogynic activities or those misogynic films. Those activities actually, till now we are facing continuous actually irreverence from the film industry. So these women from the film industry, from the director side, from the producer side, from the actress side, and from the makeup women side, some of the women came together and they actually stood together to stand to talk about how this film industry functions now. So WCC started in that way, and it actually now stands for the welfare of women artists by promoting gender neutral practices in the Malayalam movie industry. And I would say that, the former WCC member, I should thank WCC for the prominent contribution it gathered for every women who are in the industry. That is actually, we didn't have a internal complaints committee, that kind of mechanism in the film industry. And this WCC actually fought for it and sought the intervention of Kerala High Court to ensure the formation of ICC, Internal Complaints Committee, and strict implementation of this protection of women from sexual harassment at workplace. So now it actually it has executed in all film production units. And Kerala High Court actually announced the verdict to adhere to the POSH Act in all film units, which was, I think, a significant milestone for WCC.
So no other industry in India has this in place. The ICC.
Yeah, so far.
This is only for
And
the Malayalam films.
the appointment of HEMA committee. That's also actually the thing WCC raised. And though the committee report actually came and unfortunately, all of you know that, what happened to that report.
Yeah, Justice Hema Commission was installed by the state government to look into the issues raised on gender inequalities in the film industry and submit a report. For those who are not familiar with the HEMA commission, that's this is HEMA commission. That report was filed before the government. But then, in that sense, Kerala could the women in WCC and the women film personnel, like people who are working in the film industry, could make a big breakthrough and set a great model for the Indian film industry. In insisting by making it legal that there should be an ICC in every film unit, isn't it? That's a big stride for us.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, in that sense, it's a model. It's a model. It can be actually. I mean, what I heard actually in Andhra Pradesh and in Tamil Nadu, women of those industries actually, some of them gathered together and actually they started studying about WCC's work, and they also, made or making some efforts to get the government intervention into their struggles.
Some time back, you said the film, the crisis that we have when we discussed about the stability of Malayalam film industry. You said Malayalam film industry had witnessed much struggles, maybe due to piracy and then a lot of other issues, but still it bounced back. And now Malayalam film industry is in a very interesting phase where we have this OTT platform open along with the theaters. Because Viral Sebi is one film that we know for sure was not released in theaters. It had a good run. It's still having a good run in the OTT platform. So, as a filmmaker, how do you see this development? So many OTT platforms available before us. So, does that give you an extra freedom, or does that scares you? That you unlike the theaters, you release the film in OTT, and people from anywhere in the world can log in and watch your film. So, what is the extent of that possibility as a filmmaker?
Yeah, as you said, actually, it's definitely a blessing. OTT platform plays a crucial role actually in that sense in promoting and distributing regional cinema by providing a wider audience reach beyond the traditional cinema. As all of us know, they offer a platform for regional content. In that sense, fostering a kind of cultural diversity and allowing filmmakers or filmmakers like us to showcase our work to a global audience. Like, us, Anand, people in or our friends in America or our friends in Europe actually watched Viral Sebi. Okay, though it didn't screen in any of the theaters here. So we are getting, reviews from or recognitions from those parts. So in that sense, actually, it's really a blessing. We can actually showcase our work to the global audience, and thereby increasing the visibility and accessibility of our regional film. And but at the same time, actually, I do have a different opinion about the OTT platforms. Actually, while making films for OTT platforms, the OTT platform actually persuade us to make films that has got the universal content. Okay, so definitely Viral Sebi kind of films having a message of or having a story of universal content where everyone in the world or everyone in the globe can actually watch and they can make sense out of that film. but in certain sense, but we can't actually always make always universalize the things. That's an issue. I mean, how can we always go for universalizing the problems? Uh, every time, that's what actually some kind of cultural specificity will be there, in certain issues. So uh, that's a challenge. I think one challenge is the potential overshadowing of this kind of smaller regional productions by big budget mainstream content, yeah? Or I would say limiting the visibility for local filmmakers. That's also an issue. I don't know how now. I mean, how do we will go with that? I mean, that's a confronting thing. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Your fight that you put up for the cause of women in film industry seems to have inspired Ananya here. Ananya Priyadashini, she's from Delhi. She has something to comment on that. Ananya, are you online?
Good evening, ma'am. I was just listening to the conversation, and when you mentioned about something like WCC, it is I felt like I have not known about it, and it is yet such an important movement that you discussed. It's already inspiring that such a amazing filmmaker like you has achieved such marvelous accolades, and despite the challenges of being a woman, you have stood for those rights. I wanted to ask that, ma'am, have you ever felt that being a woman, your creative space in the film industry has not been taken as seriously?
So, Ananya, actually, what are you trying to ask? I mean, I didn't get the last part actually.
Ma'am, I was mentioning that despite the activism and the stance that you have taken, do you feel that in the creative space, a woman's voice in the film industry is still yet to be given importance, or in a conventional sense, in a conventional commercial films, yeah, do you feel that women are getting their space uh, when they have to put out their stories, or do you still think we're behind, like we're far from it right now?
No, I don't actually. I mean, think that sort of things. Because uh, I always feel like my way is different, and for that different. I mean, for traveling for traveling through a different track, actually. First of all, in film industry, we don't have much forerunners. Like, I mean, we don't have much women who have directed movies, or who have stood in front of us. So uh, maybe uh, we have to find our own way. Okay. So actually, first of all, I mean, every time I used to feel like, before making movie, I want to make my track open. First of all, I want to. I mean, what I should say. I would say. I mean, I want to make my way. Then only I can make my movies.
You want to
So
clear a path for yourself, create a
yeah,
path for yourself.
yeah, true. I want to make my path clear. Then only I can walk on that way. So this is a traveling like that. So I mean, I don't feel like, I mean, I'm less than. I mean, I didn't have much space, or I am not getting a better position. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I never thought like that actually, because I think I have a lot of things to do, and I have a lot of stories to tell, and like Robert Frost said, miles to go before I sleep. So I don't have time to think like, I mean, I didn't get enough space, or I am not getting enough space, or my sound is not that much vocal. I mean, I have my own way to do things. So I don't mind actually people, or what people says, what others think about me, or what others says about me. I don't have time actually.
That is so amazing to
So
know, ma'am. You're
Yeah,
really
Nidhi.
optimistic and positive.
Thank you, Ananya. Nidhi, I think you have a question connected to this, what Vidhu has just now said.
Yes, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am,
Hmm.
my question is that women actors are less paid, despite acting doesn't discriminates with you looking on your gender. So, what's your take on this? Like, in this way, we can say that we have lagged on the part of inclusivity in the cinema industry. And no one makes film on this topic because, like, they are themselves part of that discrimination that is done to the women.
What is the first part actually? What's the
She
first
said
part?
women artists are paid less than the male counterpart.
Okay. So actually, this remuneration disparities, I mean, is always there. I mean, actually, WCC raised questions regarding this. And I don't know, I mean, how many of you heard of, film like Uyare, uh, Parvati Tiruvut, our famous actress, played a crucial role in that film. And she actually raised this issue. And she's the prominent figure. She was the prominent figure in that movie. But she was paid less compared to the other male artists. So the screen space actually, she is actually sharing the screen space bigger than others, bigger than the male artists, but she was paid less.
And she was the protagonist also.
Yeah, she was a protagonist. Yeah. This is actually, I think, true within all other industries also. I mean, this is a bigger issue. How can actually the women actresses can negotiate in that way, you know, but in Tamil industry, I think the actresses like Tayantara and all, they tell a different story, isn't it, Anand?
But
Yeah.
exactly what you're saying, a woman has to play on her femininity and sexuality in order to be paid more. If I can say that. But
Unlike the male actors who can do actual acting, uh, display their acting power talents, women has to play up the sexuality. Is what Dr. Kalyani is asking. Is that the way to?
No, I don't think so. It's not always like that. I mean, even the actresses like Manju Warrior or in Hindi film, and I mean the actresses Deepika Padukone or somebody's like that. They play a very bold roles and very they became actually very successful, and it all depends on the mechanism, how a film, how an industry works. And in actually, I feel like in Kerala, we actually sees a different story. Every time I used to feel like if you go to a theater, who are the people actually? Who has the capacity to buy a ticket? Okay, from the counter. So in the counter, actually, we are actually seeing most of them are men. So the male folk actually paying money and buying the ticket. Actually, I every time I feel like the women folk should be able to raise themselves into this position. They should be able to buy the tickets. They should be able to they should be able to fill the theaters.
Come forward and start
Most of the-
asserting their space.
Yeah, most of the time actually most of the films actually are made up of men's for satisfying men's interest, for male interest. Okay, so if we want to actually twist that story, we should be able to simultaneously narrate our stories and simultaneously able to fill our theaters with our presence. So it's actually a mixing of that things.
I think we are at the end of the session. Thank you, Vidhu. She is also in a hurry to. She has got another meeting.
Who listens to me. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're coming from a different background. I mean, I don't know any of the students who are hearing me belongs to film community. I don't know any one of you having a taste of storytelling. I don't know. Still, I would say that I mean, I just want to say that I mean, before concluding my session, just. You should be able to passionate about what you're doing and never give up what you're doing. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's a solid advice for the students. And Vidhu, these are all literature students, so they do love storytelling and they have stories in them. So
Okay.
yeah, Dr. Kalyani, over to you.
It was so inspiring to. It is always in throughout the Let's Talk Films. Anand has brought us brilliant people from the film industry, and you are one of the pioneering women in this field. Ma'am, it was so amazing to listen to you talk from there. And it is truly inspiring many of us to think seriously about, writing and working towards where you have reached. Thank you very much. I hope students will continue to support us in this venture in Let's Talk Films and take it forward. Thank you very much.
And before we end, thank you, Ayushi Mittal. She said she will definitely watch Viral Sebi. Those who are interested in watching Viral Sebi, please check out the HR OTT, High Rich OTT. HR OTT is available there.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Kalyani. Thank you, this group. Thank you so much.
We look forward to more films and more such conversations, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.